What's up, guys? It's Pat Whalen here, back again with yesterday's news for Wednesday, August 17th. This is our third episode ever of yesterday's news. Once again, the premise, very simple. It's called yesterday's news because that's what I talk about. I named it very simply. That was purposeful. To give you a little background on myself, I host Chicago's only late-night talk show news alternative called Good Evening with Pat Whalen. We talk about politics in and around Chicago and Illinois at large. And it's just kind of a daily digest for you. This is what I'm looking at. This is what caught my eye in articles throughout, the Twitter sphere, if you will. Not necessarily saying this is what I think is most important right now. So please, if you see something that I missed, if I get something wrong, if you want to accuse me of copyright infringement, you can send me an email at besteveningever@gmail.com. You can check out Good Evening at facebook.com/besteveningever, as well as at besteveningever on pretty much every social media thing there's ever been, minus Friendster. But enough chit-chat. Let's get down to the stories of today. Again, Wednesday, August 17th. This is yesterday's news. First story. From Fran Spielman at Chicago Sun-Times, CHA's oldest development to get new library. As you can see, the mayor stopped by Altgeld Gardens. It's a Chicago Housing Authority public housing complex on the far south side of the city. He was there to promote a new library that's getting put in at the CHA site. Altgeld Gardens was one of the nation's first public housing developments. It was built by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to house African-American veterans returning from World War II. So it's been there a long time. It's referred to by the article as the most historic housing project in the city of Chicago. This story comes on the heels of some scrutiny for the Chicago Housing Authority. The CHA has had a few articles written, mostly in the Chicago Reader, which I will link to in the doobly-doo. Basically, these articles say that the Chicago Housing Authority runs things very slowly, it's very bureaucratic, and there isn't much oversight from the city council and from the public at large. So this, I think, is the mayor hoping that to show a little progress with what the goals are of the Chicago Housing Authority, specifically to this one. And it's a special instance, and I'll tell you why. This is not just a Chicago Housing Authority initiative to put this library in there. It's actually the Library Commission of the City of Chicago, as well as Housing and Planning. Mayor Rahm Emanuel spoke to that in a statement quoted in the article. To both the libraries and public housing, I want to congratulate them for thinking past the walls that used to divide departments and agencies in the city, serving one community, one neighborhood, and one child in a comprehensive way. That sounds really nice, but I think you should focus on all the children, not just one child. I know, I'm being nitpicky. All right, enough. Not a journalist. This is a special instance, and you can see from the other quote that Mayor Rahm Emanuel has in the article, it says, this is a different approach. You're going to see more of it. So I think what this is an interdepartmental effort. You have public housing, you have the mayor's office, you have the library commission. They're all working together to create more resources for these public housing projects. Case in point, Library Commissioner Brian Bannon of the City of Chicago said, having advanced technologies like a digital media lab for teens is important in every community, but especially in those where broadband adoption is lower in the homes. I don't know what the broadband adoption rates are in Altgeld, but we have communities in the city where folks don't have access to the internet from home. The library is the only place. So again, we're creating resources for the youth in these housing projects to be able to get a hold of advanced technologies, because they might be able to not get it in their home, and they might not be able to get it in their schools, which is another story. The local alderman for the area, Anthony Beal, called the new library for Altgeld Gardens the largest in a series of triumphs for a housing development that was not part of the CHA's original plan for transformation. He had to fight to get Altgeld Gardens included. As I mentioned before, CHA has been under a lot of scrutiny and pressure as of late. I think the general consensus in the city council and by the public, who especially live in these housing projects, is that they're not doing enough to update these housing projects and give them the amenities that a lot of other, modern-day homes would include, like internet access. Alderman Beal said, that's a great testament to the fact that if we put money in education, we put money in housing, we create jobs, we can rebuild a community. This library is another big step. So it sounds like things are going pretty well. I like this initiative from the mayor's office. I think it's very smart and very good for the people of Altgeld Gardens. What do you think? Leave me a comment below, because I'm pretty sure I'm not getting this whole CHA thing right. I have more reading to do. Hashtag not a journalist. A nice segue into this awesome article by John O'Connor at WBEZ is that after the mayor got out of his press conference promoting this new library at the CHA site, he literally said, let me guess, you're not going to ask about the library. They didn't. This leads us into our next story of the day. From WBEZ, Illinois AG orders emails disclosed, refuels privacy debate. Sounds juicy. Chicago police officers' emails discussing the Laquan McDonald shooting can't be kept secret, even though they were transmitted privately. Obviously, the Chicago police were not into the idea of having their personal emails summoned, but the Attorney General says the law is the law. She doesn't talk like that. The opinion has the force of law, requiring the police to search officers' private accounts and turn over relevant emails, although the police department can ask a judge to overturn it. This isn't the first time this year that we've heard about private email accounts on private devices being subpoenaed in public public cases, right? Well, Quan McDonald video is the one that came up. Also, this past year, Governor Rauner's education advisor was conducting public business in a private email account. And, of course, we all know about Hillary Clinton's emails. I don't, but, I'm sure you know all about it. You seem very nice and well-educated. John Costello, a Chicago public access lawyer, says, this binding opinion will hopefully make clear that public employees cannot evade FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, by using private devices when conducting public business. Now, the police department is not thrilled about this, but the Attorney General noted that privacy is not an exception when public records are at stake. She also said the police had not even asked the officers if such emails existed and could have avoided jeopardizing privacy by asking the officers to voluntarily surrender emails involving McDonald. So I guess they had a chance to avoid all this, but it kind of seemed like this whole issue was inevitable to me. Do you have a private email account that you don't want anyone to know about but would like to publicly comment on my YouTube video about? Please do so below in the comments section. Story number 3. And finally, on yesterday's news, another article from Chicago Sun-Times. This one from Lauren Fitzpatrick. CPS wants permission to borrow up to $945 million in new bonds. Yesterday we talked about the teachers' pensions. Obviously this revolves around CPS as well, but the money handling of CPS is really under the microscope lately. The article says, a cash-strapped Chicago's public schools seeks to issue almost $1 billion in new bonds. That says the Chicago Teachers Union, angry at CPS projections for a balanced budget count on union concessions, offers strike training this weekend. We haven't really got to this yet, but yesterday we did talk about the teachers' pensions, which are being mismanaged. But on top of that, the Chicago Public Schools only has a balanced budget if the teachers get a 7% pay cut. I believe those numbers are right, and so teachers not thrilled about these new developments financially in the Chicago public school system. The latest borrowing for the broke school system, ouch, will be up to $945 million for the purpose of financing rehabilitation, renovation, construction, and acquisition of school and administrative buildings and equipment. So obviously they're going to spend this money on things that the school system needs, which is nice. But the article also says just last month, Chicago Public Schools borrowed $150 million to pay for, quote, critically needed construction and maintenance work. So they were already in the hole and needed to borrow money to begin with. There's a lot of borrowing going on. It does not look good to outside investors. At 7.25%, their interest rates were high, but better than a round of borrowing last winter when CPS sold $725 million in bonds on the open market at yields of 8.5% for investors. Those are some high interest rates. With all this borrowing and all these high interest rates going on, 3 Wall Street rating agencies have rated the school system's debt at junk status. I'm not sure what's below junk. Not a journalist. But that's a bad rating, right? We can all agree on that. Childish jokes aside. How much do the teachers have their eye on this and how much do they not like it? Well, a statement went out and said, quote, our bully mayor, billionaire governor, and greedy corporations in Illinois are pushing a coordinated agenda. They want to slash wages, abolish pensions, outsource jobs, and gut public services. There is stuff in the air right now about a possible teachers' strike. Karen Lewis, the head of the CTU, this past week actually said if teachers' pay is cut, they're going to strike. That's for sure. How's all this going to end up? Well, we don't really know yet, but the article also says that the district will hold a public hearing at 8:30 a.m. on August 24th at its headquarters, just before its 10:30 a.m. meeting. So it definitely seems like Chicago Public Schools needs this money, but it's just too bad they have to borrow at high interest rates and possibly cut teachers' pay. Man, that's a cruddy situation, and I think they just better check their math. Okay, that's not appropriate. I apologize. Have you had enough of my inappropriate jokes? Am I still plagiarizing content from other news sources without properly accrediting them? I'm trying to get better at that. Have I missed something that you think I should probably be talking about? Leave a comment. You can leave a comment, you can like the video, you can share the video, you can subscribe, and you can send me a personal email at besteveningever@gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat if you can believe it. And you should believe me because I'm Snapchatting right now. What's up, Snapchat? Just wrapping up our 3rd installment of yesterday's news. It's a new daily video where I digest politics in and around the Chicago area. Check us out at facebook.com/besteveningever. You don't see that every day. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I'm Pat Whalen. This has been yesterday's news for Wednesday, August 17th. Come back tomorrow where I'm going to talk about today. Peace.